Hey guys, welcome to my first Inkscape tutorial. Basically, we're going to go from like getting the program to uh, using it, and I'm going to show you all the basics and maybe some more words. But basically, yeah, you're just gonna get the rundown, and by the time we're done, you should at least know how to do everything on there. Now, when it comes to graphic design and most art, period, it's one part perception. I don't want to put parts to it because I don't know how to. I'm not a cook. Um, but yeah, it requires a bit of artistic skill as far as making things look right and everything. And then a lot of it has to do with actually working the program. I mean, you can be an expert at the program, but if you don't know how to make things look right, as far as being an artist, you're not going to do that great. However, not everybody wants to be a professional graphic design. Maybe you just need something for school, or you want to make a new background for your desktop or whatever, and that's fine. Uh, so this tutorial is just going to get you started on Inkscape. If you don't know what Inkscape is, it's if you know what Adobe Illustrator is, it's a vector graphic editor, and it basically means that you can draw using vector graphics. And vector graphics is like math. You don't see the math, and you'll never have to deal with the math, but the math is there, and the math is what keeps things proportionate. And no matter what you do on there, it adds a bit of the math to the equation. Uh, from simple to extreme, it's all math. And there is a way, and I'll show you guys at some point, that you can actually view the vector graphics, the actual write up, the math equation or whatever for it. But for right now, let's keep it as simple as possible. If you don't have Inkscape yet, but you're looking for a graphic design program that's free, this is going to be the best one, because it's pretty much as functional as Illustrator. However, it's free, and it's a little bit. I mean, I've used Illustrator. I've taken some classes with it, and I like it. I think I like it a little bit better than Inkscape. But for the price range, Inkscape is where it's at. You're not going to find anything as good as this for nearly this cheap. We're going to go ahead and look at it real quick. If you don't have it yet, go to inkscape.org, and you can click on the download right there and download it. They do have it for Mac. They have it for Linux and Ubuntu, and I have Ubuntu on my desktop, and I have it on there, and it's probably the best running program I've ever had on a Linux operating system. And then they have it for Windows, and there's a couple of differences actually between the versions, and so some of the stuff might not add up what I say. If you're using Linux and I'm using Windows right now, I might say something, but I'm going to show you the multiple ways to get to wherever we're trying to go, so at least you'll have an idea. But all of them seem to have the same exact options. I've never used Mac, but I can only imagine that they probably did it all the same way. However, some things are in different locations. So, well, let's get into it. If you don't have it yet, just go ahead and download it real quick and then come back to the video. I'm going to minimize that. And if you're watching this on YouTube, I'm about to put up a website that contains written tutorials as well as these videos on most of everything that I do tutorials on. And I'm doing a lot of tutorials lately, and as soon as the website's up, you'll see. And I've also got links and stuff to the everything that you would need for a graphic design, web design, magazine design, whatever. If you need to design it, I'll have a link to get it done for free. It just requires you to have some skill in it. So let's say, I mean, I've already opened the program Inkscape, and it looks like this on your desktop. You see, and all of this stuff, except for the Adobe applications, which I don't even use, mainly because I didn't buy any of them, and they have a couple of free things on there. But Blender, all of this stuff is free, and I'm gonna do tutorials on it. Open Office, this is a Microsoft Office. But it's free. It's done by Apache, and it's wonderful. It is amazing. And I haven't used the newest versions of Microsoft Office, but I don't know how they match up. But I'm telling you, OpenOffice is awesome. And then yeah, Notepad. Oh, but see, we're on Inkscape. Don't want to get lost. Okay, so we've opened it up. It automatically opens up your default page right there, and that's this. And what you can do is you can go into your document properties, and you can take away your page border and obviously your shadows, even though it doesn't show the shadows. Or you can leave them on there. It's up to you. And what is this? I have no idea what that is. But we're going to go ahead and take it off and see how the shadows work. That's good. That's fancy. I'm telling you, they put a lot of work into this. They had a huge team working on it. It's done by the Inkscape team, by the way. If you want to look that up, there's a pretty cool history as far as where this program originated as opposed to the program that it originally was. And if you're into that kind of thing, then that's definitely something you might want to look up. But we're going to go over the tools real quick. What we have here is our select and transform tool. And this is our edit paths by nodes. And this is a tweak object, and I don't use this at all, mainly maybe because I don't know how to control it the way some people might. And there's a version of it on Illustrator that I have used, and I did like. This I don't use. Zoom in, zoom out, but the thing is with this program, you can hold down Control and use your middle mouse to scroll in and out. However, I'm going to scroll out. Okay. You see how down here it has the percent that you're looking at, and it also allows you to adjust it this way also. It doesn't do it by 1% every time. I think it does it like by 12 or something here, close to it. And see, because we're at 101 right now, and this is good. And then we have our basic square. We have our 3D boxes, our circle tool, and this one, and this is actually a pretty complex tool, but is really cool. And see, we're using gray, and I don't want to use gray right now. Oh, we've also got a gradient on there. That's not cool. Okay, well, that's fine. But yeah, and I've got it set up weird, so that's why it looks all funky, and that has to do with these options up here. And most tools have those options up there, and we'll go over them as we go over each tool. Now I'm going to delete that. Then we have a little spiral tool, and this is pretty cool. I've used this quite a bit, and I'll show you some of the stuff that I've done. And I'm not like a grade A artist or anything, so don't expect too much. But I'll at least give you an idea of what is possible. This is a free draw tool. Now, you see how it did exactly how I wanted it to. And then if I turn the smoothness up to 100 and do the same shape, kind of, it put it as a line. So you find a good mix of smoothness. What is this? Let's get that out of here. That wasn't a good mix of smoothness and the way you do the shape, anyways. And see, that made an almost perfect curve based off my crappy little like that. You see, and that's how the free draw tool works. And there's other modes too, Bezier path, and then a Spiro path. And let's see what the Bezier does. See, and that's really cool. Like if you have a graphic pad, you can actually use that in this program and come up with some pretty cool stuff. And there's also things like right now I have the shape on as none, but if I do like triangle in, see how it starts out? It's a triangle. It starts out here, and the point is at the end. Or I can do triangle out. Same thing, only difference is it doesn't start right here. It starts at the point and then it goes to the base. And then there's the ellipse tool, or the ellipse option, and that actually, the points are on both ends. However, it thickens up in the middle. It's kind of like an ellipse, I guess you could say. That's probably why they named it that. And then you've got your let's look at the technical name for it, Bezier curves tool. And this is a really cool tool. I use this so much whenever I'm using this program because one, you can do a straight line, made a triangle. See, well, I'm going to be proud. You can also do an actual straight line by holding Control and then just dragging. No matter where you go, it's going to put it on a certain point. Like that's straight down. That's got a little angle to it. It goes bigger and bigger and bigger, and then it can go horizontally. But yeah, just control is a good way to control it. Yes, I know what I just said. Also, let's say you want to do a little curve. Well, you can click and then drag. See? Now, I don't do that. And honestly, you could. So that kind of looks like a purse or a bag or something. I don't know. What I do is I use the edit paths tool now, or edit nodes. Now most shapes, and I'll go over this. These are actually paths. These you've got your square, your circle, and your stars and polygons tool. Those are going to be objects, and everything you do with your freehand tool or your Bezier curves tool, those are going to be paths. But you can also make a path or a path out of an object just by going to path and object to path. And now, well, let's go ahead and undo that real quick. You see, and here's the difference between the two, between an object and a path. A path is editable using the nodes tool. These little squares are nodes, right? And these things, these little arms, they control the amount of curve. You can do none, you can do a lot, whatever. And if you want to do these individually, there's an option for that. See, and you can change those individually. Now you can move them. However, if you click on this circle or a square or a star that you just made, you'll notice that you can make it bigger just like you can using this tool. See? But you can't change the shapes or anything. See, I can, and this is another thing that it does with the points tool. Kind of makes a little Pac-Man type thing. See? But if you change it to a path, bang. See, there's nodes everywhere that there were those little points, including right there, even though there's two there because I was playing with it. And if I hadn't done that, there'd only be one right now. But yeah, and now it becomes transformable, which is cool. And when you use all that together, it can make for some pretty interesting stuff. Some good looking things. What else here? We've got a spray objects, and I've never used this. Let's see what it does. Okay, so what it did was it copied the object I was previously working on. I didn't copy it or anything. It did it itself, just based off my last selection, I'm guessing. And so now it's going to use it like a spray can. So you can actually use that with stars or whatever. I mean, however you want to do it. And yeah, just like I thought, you can change the amount of it, of the amount of objects, and the rotation, the scale, and everything. And just really play with it. You can do quite a bit with what that tool looks like. But I just deleted all that because let's see. This is for erasing paths. Now, me personally, I'll select it and hit delete. I don't need to use this tool. And I've never actually used the fill bounds area too. But let's see what that does. Let's make a square real quick, and I'll pick dark blue. Oh well. And apparently that just changes colors. And I'm sure there's a good reason. Oh, well, it seems to be layering it. See that? Every time I click add that blue, because there's no opacity to it. And that's another thing about Inkscape that kind of annoys me is that, and I know there's a way to fix it. It keeps your last settings for whatever objects, for any objects. Like, let's say I close it out after I've just put a opacity on a square. Well, if I open it up and use a circle, it's gonna make it opaque, and that's not always ideal for me. I don't like that very much, but oh, that's weird. So yeah, I mean, well, that's cool and everything. I don't know what the deal is with that, but it did that for some reason. That's the paint bucket. I've never used that before. It's just one of those things where they don't have an option like that on the Illustrator that I can remember. I just never had a reason to use it, so it does whatever that is, and yeah. So now we're going to get to the gradient tool, and the gradient tool I use a lot, and there's a good reason for it because it makes things look amazing. You've got two options when you do a gradient. You've got your radial. Sorry, oh, it says elliptic on there. I wasn't wrong. But yeah, you have your radial gradient, and then you have your linear gradient. And if you might not understand the difference between them, so let me show you. You notice how that's just one straight line, and let's add a yellow. It doesn't have to be like a dark blue, or it can be two different colors, and that's fine. Yeah, so that works that way. However, a radial gradient See how it comes from the middle and then it starts out towards the edges? That is for circles, but you don't have to use it for circles. Like you can kind of make, let's see here. It's a good way to try to make things look like they have a little bit more dimension to them. So, see, like that kind of looks like there's some shadow around it. Looks 3D, like there's a light shining on it in this particular area, and it's just a really cool effect, and I use that a lot. And there's other things that you can do with the gradients as far as like, and I don't do this a lot with radial gradients, but whoop, what's that? Whoop, probably select it first, right? Okay, here's our radial gradient. Now I'm going to go really extreme with this because I really want to show the difference between the two. You can add points. You just double click on the line. Now if you miss the line, it's going to create a whole new gradient, in which case you just Control Z and undo it, and it'll go back to the way it was. But I've done that quite a bit, especially on my other computer because, well, I'm not going to get into that either. But okay, so we want a rainbow. So there's our red. Add a little green in there. And yellow. And it's going to go up. It's going to fade out as far as the next node, or the next point is. I guess those are nodes also, but they're for your gradients. Then we can add a purple. Ooh. See, Control Z. Simple as that. I didn't select the thing, and that's why I did that. It'll trick me sometimes. I'm not touchpad savvy, but I'm using a laptop right now. So yeah, and so gradients can do things like that, which can end up with really cool effects if you just play with it, and you know you've got an idea in mind. And oh, see, did it again. And that's really that's probably one of its most powerful, tools that it has, is the ability to play, to do things like that. But on top of that, of these tools, there's a really nifty set of filters. So, and I'm going to get into that in the next video. I think I've let this run a little too long. So, in the next video, I'll show you some of the tools that aren't just like out there in the open for you to use. And I'll probably go into depth a little more using the selection tool and what else. I don't know. We'll find out. I like to go with the wind. So yeah, in the next video, if you'll join me, we will discuss filters.